it, Export-Import Bank. If you've watched TV lately, apparently there's an out-of-state group running a commercial advising you to encourage me to make up my mind on Export-Import Bank. The note here says at least 3 companies in Hot Springs use it to sell products overseas. Can you support ExIm Bank in some form for recharter? Here's the issue with ExIm Bank. Its charter runs out June 30th, and there's been no effort in Congress to renew the charter. Matter of fact, the chairman of the Financial Services Committee, Ted Henderling from Texas, he does not like the Export-Import Bank, and he said he will not run the legislation through his committee now to renew the charter. Does that mean it's going to not have the charter renewed? Only time will tell. To give you a little bit of information about the Export-Import Bank, it was set up in 1934. It was put in place to help U.S. producers compete with producers overseas. It provides loans, it provides guarantees, and it provides insurance for U.S. companies who are selling their products overseas. We do have at least 3 companies here in Hot Springs who currently use Export-Import Bank across the 4th District. There are several more that use it. There's been a lot of stuff in the news about the Export-Import Bank being abused and misused. Boeing is the company that gets highlighted a lot of times in those discussions. But it's not just as straightforward and simple as it may seem when you really start looking at the details. The Export-Import Bank does about $27 billion a year in the U.S. It's part of a group of banks like Export-Import around the world that does over $400 billion per year. So we have competition in that realm from other countries. Most of these banks adhere to a set of international standards that the description that keeps you from being involved in a race to the bottom, where every company is trying to subsidize these financial transactions to the point where you eventually get zero interest, and it's literally a race to the bottom on who can provide the most subsidies. Some of our biggest competitors don't abide by those rules. China doesn't follow those rules. Russia doesn't follow those rules. So U.S. businesses are competing in foreign markets where you've got countries who are subsidizing financing for their manufacturers, and they're not playing by the same rules that we're playing by. Depending on who you talk to, the Export-Import Bank actually returns money to the U.S. Treasury every year. They support businesses and support jobs. The thing we need right now, more than anything else, are more jobs and more people working. On the other hand, is Export-Import Bank the purest free enterprise system that we would all like to see? Probably not, because they do provide credit at lower rates than what private institutions can sometimes provide credit. But in the charter of the ExIm Bank, it says that they're there to provide financial services for companies who cannot get financing other places, or else private financial institutions refuse to be involved in that. But it's a complicated issue. I was reading in the Bible the other day, where I still find a lot of wisdom, and the older I get, the more I realize how much truth and wisdom's there. I was reading where Jesus was really giving it to the Sadducees and the Pharisees, and he said, "You blind guides, you strain out gnats and you swallow camels." And I was in the middle of looking at all this ExIm Bank stuff, and I thought, that summarizes a lot of what goes on in Congress today. We strain out gnats, we want to be so pure and everything, but we swallow camels. ExIm Bank is one of these things that's over in that discretionary spending that I was telling you about. There's a big to-do about whether to renew the ExIm charter or not. But in the big picture, ExIm Bank is a gnat. But we're not even talking about these issues over on mandatory spending that are driving our country into debt that's extremely unsustainable, that's causing us to pay all these high interest rates. So to be more direct on the Export-Import Bank charter, it depends. It depends on what's presented to me to vote on. We may never get a chance to vote on the export-import bank. I took the same position that the other 5 members of the Arkansas delegation took on the ExIm Bank, was that we don't know any details and we don't have anything to vote on yet. And until I get those details and I'm able to analyze them, I'm not going to make a decision. That was an article in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and then this out-of-state group started running commercials encouraging you to encourage me to make up my mind. Well, I would love to make up my mind, I just don't have the details that I need to make up my mind. And I believe I owe it to the voters of the 4th District and the state of Arkansas to take in all the details and make an informed decision that's the best thing for our district and for our country. And there was, it's not good, I want to show you one other thing on that issue. And when you talk about serving in Congress, this is yours. And this is really the only thing I have as a member of Congress that means a whole lot. It's my voting card. It's what I put in the slot, and I push the button yes or no. And a lot of times there are issues that come up that, you know, quite frankly, I don't really have an opinion on these, but I have to make a decision, yes or no. And there are things that I really am passionate about where I make the decision yes or no. But one thing I know is that this doesn't really belong to me. It belongs to the people of the 4th District of Arkansas. There's only 435 of these in the world. And every time I put that in and I push the button, I think, am I making the best decision for the people who entrusted me to make this decision? And I want you to know that this card's not for sale. It's not for somebody else to force some decision on how it should be made. This card was entrusted to me to make the best decision for the people I represent, and that is my goal in life, is to make sure that I'm making the best decision for the people I represent, and that I can come back with a straight face, say, I made this vote, I made it this way, and I'm proud of it, and I may make a mistake, but I did it, it was an informed mistake, or maybe I was misinformed if I made a mistake, and that's my staff's fault. But I want you to know how special this is to me and how much pride I take in being able to be the keeper of this for as long as the people of the 4th District of Arkansas let me. And Forrest, I don't see any more questions.